I never really wanted to play Fortnite. One, because I don't like to jump on bandwagons just because they're bandwagons. And how fucking cliche is it for a YouTuber right now to start doing Fortnite content? It's just so stereotypical. Such an obvious profit-driven move that I'm sure it just would not sit well with people. It certainly wouldn't sit well with me, for that reason, which we're about to find out. But two, probably the bigger one, I was afraid that I would like it. Like, really get into it, because clearly it's very engaging, and I just don't have time for that right now. Now, I played the fuck out of PUBG, and I'd probably still be playing it right now if Bluehole had bothered to fix, like, any of the game's bugs ever. Like, any of them, like a single one. So I was lying in bed, eating a burrito, watching reruns of Frasier, and I realized, holy fuck, I'm old. I'm set in my ways. I would rather just keep doing the same shit that I was doing a decade ago, longer even, than try something new for the fear that I might actually like it. So I installed fucking Fortnite, and I gotta say, I fucking hated it. I just fucking hated it, for the reasons that I'm about to describe. But before I do, I need to make a distinction. I'm not saying it's a bad game. Based on how successful it is and how much people love it, it is objectively a very good game. This video is not an attempt to convince you that it's bad or that you shouldn't play it, but rather it's an explanation of why I personally have some issues with it. Because on the whole, Fortnite is comprised almost entirely of successful market practices that I don't like. The first of which is the style. The exaggerated, cartoony look is, in my opinion, just overdone. It's the clickbait of aesthetic design. Like every pay-to-win cell phone game, it's poppy, flashy, and eye-catching, and done every once in a while, it's fine, as a creative choice, but it's just such an obvious, financially driven choice that it grates at my soul every second I'm playing games with it. When I see these cartoony, exaggerated features, I don't see designers modeling a world that they're proud of. I see a team of executives agreeing that this aesthetic is the most eye-catching, and thus the most likely to generate buzz and get free marketing. It has the same effect on my psyche as if your health bar had a Mountain Dew logo on it all the time. Like, it's just money. It's just a money choice. It's driven entirely by money. Admittedly, this criticism is influenced, though, by my own personal preferences, in which I most definitely fall into the minority, but I don't like bright colors and flashy shit. I prefer games with darker, more subtle tones. I love the Diablo series with its gritty, horror-inspired visuals, gothic architecture, ominous music. That is until Diablo 3 came out, where you can ride a fucking glowing horse with big gaudy wings sticking off your back as you explode enemies in a rainbow of lightning. I just stopped at 3. I didn't play it. I hated it. I like Minecraft when you're a mysterious castaway or some shit with a somber soundtrack. Then they lighten the textures, added magic dragons, and the whole thing just kind of lost its soul. And that's what this aesthetic is to me. It's soulless pop culture. It's corporate sponsored dabbing. It's the monetization of a culture's essence, which brings me to my next point. Motherfucking cosmetics. I hate them. I hate them so much. I mean, I like the idea of them. It's fun to customize your character however you want, make them represent you in one way or another, express yourself. That's all fine and great, but that's not what cosmetics are in Fortnite or in any game nowadays. They're not self-expression. They are the illusion of self-expression. And if you don't believe me, take Half-Life 1, for example. In the original Half-Life, you had the option of selecting your spray from a list of preset sprays, or through a kind of convoluted system, importing your own image. And guess what? Fucking no one used the prepackaged developer-designed sprays because they were meaningless. Even though it was harder to make your own, that was obviously what everyone was gonna do. No matter how cool they looked, they weren't expression. They're just useless. They're just, given the choice of looking like other people's ideas or representing your own ideas, people will choose self-expression 99% of the time. But Fortnite and other developers give value to their prepackaged cosmetics literally just by slapping a price tag on them. If Epic wanted you to be able to customize your look, they'd let you choose your character model and clothing, like, for free, like games used to do, but they don't want that. They just want your money. So every time I see people jonesing for a certain skin or a fancy hat, I just think, why? No one except you cares. It's not you. It's just what you showing other people a cool skin from the same selection of cool skins that they have. It makes it pointless. I don't get it. Everyone has the same choices, but I recognize again I'm in the minority here. Maybe it's just because I have a pretty strong drive to express myself in unique ways. It's why I never did good in a job where I needed to wear a uniform and a pleasant expression on my customers. I got fired for that shit. It's why I love making videos, and I don't just hate cosmetics in Fortnite, I hate them in every game. It's why I have 600 unopened loot boxes in Overwatch and 300 in Here's the Storm. It's why I've never had a silly hat in TF2, and it's why I've, in my entire life, not spent more than $1 in microtransactions ever. I would just rather pay for the game. I'm not trying to make a statement or hold my ground or anything like that. I just care 0% about cosmetics. I just want to enjoy the gameplay. I don't need the constant stimulation that comes from wanting the next useless trinket. Which brings me to my next point. Pacing. Maybe I'm just old. Maybe it's got to do with my anxiety disorder, but I find it very off-putting when movies or games just bombard you with constant stimuli. I can only watch SpongeBob in small doses. It's why I don't like the Lego Movie franchise, and Fortnite is like the weaponized version of constant stimuli. You press join game, and suddenly you're in a starting area, everyone's talking and screaming into the mic, and then boom, you're on the bus. 10 seconds later, you're dive bomb, tilted towers. 20 seconds after that, you're in a firefight. 15 seconds after that, you're dead with 3 kills, and you're about 10 seconds after that, you're back in the lobby about to start a new game. Now, I'm all for minimizing useless downtime. I'm not going to name names of which other battle royales are guilty of this, but I think you can figure it out. If instead of playing Fortnite with its lack of downtime, someone had just told me that what it was like, I would consider that a positive. But having played it, I realized that there's certain things I like in a game that are lacking when I'm not given the opportunity to think. Personally, I like strategizing. I like analyzing situations, coming up with creative solutions. I like talking over previous performances with my friends and teammates, discussing what we did wrong, what we did right, reliving through conversation the glory of success. But when you subtract that element from a gameplay experience, you just boil it down to repeatedly chasing the thrill of the game without ever taking the time to smell the roses, basically, is what this boils down to. This is probably the stupidest criticism I could ever have, and I recognize that. I know that if I want to do any of what I just said, I would just have to not press join game immediately. That's all. I would get all the precious downtime I desire. The pacing of the whole thing could be taken in smaller doses, making it easier to swallow. But like most people, I apparently don't know what's best for me. I say I want to take it slower, but at any given moment, I just find myself repeatedly mashing that start button, hoping to wash down my most recent disappointing performance with the elusive good game, where I utilize a combination of tactics and skill to overcome tough obstacles but survive adversity with flying colors and achieve victory in an epic fashion. That's what I want every time I press the play button in a battle royale. And if I get anything less than that, I find myself disappointed. So, I chase that dragon again and again as soon as possible, like a fucking junkie, eager to get his hands on the next fix. And like a junkie, once I stop, I find myself regretting my use of the last 8 hours, realizing I did nothing but distract myself with shallow 30-second periods of fleeting aspirations and the resulting disappointment. I don't want to tell any developer to make a game design worse around my personal weaknesses, but for me, personally, the only solution is to just not play it. Fortnite is just too good at what it does. It does everything technically correct. The best kind of correct. The design, the profit model, the gameplay, it's all immaculate, really, but even though the game is free, like a drug that's been engineered to give you an amazing high, it comes at a cost, and that cost is my soul. And I think your soul, based on some of the responses I've seen from people who play the game for long-term periods. I never walk away from a session feeling good. So even though it's addictive, I'm forced to admit that I don't really like it. I hate the act of playing it. I hate it, and it scares me for myself and for the future of the hobby that I enjoy, that all of these elements are so successful, because it means they will continue to be recreated in titles that I guess I'm just too old to understand the appeal of, I guess. I tried liking it, and it made me hate myself. The one thing I can say without any real trepidation is that Epic does do an absolutely kick-ass job with their seasons and events. Having an overarching storyline to the world and making massive changes to the world is pretty much unexplored territory in this genre. I mean, granted, it's a young genre, but still, I hadn't even played Fortnite until this week, but I've been genuinely pretty curious what they've been up to for these last few months. It still blows my mind that most developers don't realize that players just love this shit. Like, we eat it up, and it's honestly pretty fucking easy to do. Just make, like, a small change. somewhere in the world, really, and the buzz generates itself. But of course, they make more than small. They make whole, change the whole world. They do a good job. It absolutely makes sense why Fortnite has blown up into the sensation that it is, because it's literally just the essence of doing all the things that are successful. The aesthetic, the microtransactions, the gameplay, sure, but also things like the HUD setup, you know, the item rarity colors, the community events, the fact that it's like semi-crafting and battle royale, two very popular genres right now. Every aspect of what this game is has been proven in previous titles to be exactly what people want. So that's what Epic made. They just put all those things together. It's a game comprised entirely of what works. That being said, I fucking hate how the building dynamic makes every fight into an entrenched standoff. That's literally what the game is. It's called Fortnite. You build for it. So that's being like, I like Doom, but I didn't like how it gave me a sense of Doom. So that's invalid criticism, but it's just how I feel. Anyways, it's a good game, but it gave me an existential crisis. So I gave it a 9 out of 10.